want to look at it? I don't know. You need to look at it? Yes. Okay. So, looking at the brain, first off, we have these raised portions, these ridges. These are gyri. Each one is a gyrus. And so, ridge is a raised portion. I don't know why ridge has suddenly become like a dip or something, but that's not the definition of ridge. Ridge is these raised portions here, okay? And so these are the gyri. Gyrus for singular, and then the indentations between them are sulci, or sulcus for singular. So each indentation in here is a sulcus. Now the brain has two sides to it. We have two hemispheres. We have left and right hemispheres. It's also got two main portions, the cerebrum, which is this main upper region, and the spaghetti knot at the back is going to be the cerebellum. So we have the cerebrum and the cerebellum. Now, running down the center of the cerebrum, we have the longitudinal fissure. This line that runs right down the center is the longitudinal fissure. Then, between the cerebrum and cerebellum, we have the transverse fissure. The transverse fissure is right here between the cerebrum and their cerebellum. Transverse fissure. We then have the lobes of the brain, which are basically named after the bones they're behind. We have the frontal lobe, right up in front. Parietal lobe, off to the side here. Occipital lobe, at the back. And then coming around the front is the temporal lobe. Temporal lobe right here, coming around the side. I'm going to also name a portion that, yeah, I think you need to know it. If you move the temporal lobe aside, you'll notice there's some wrinkles inside there. That's the insula. There's that portion that's inside there. If you move the temporal lobe aside, you'll notice there's some wrinkles down in there. That's the insula down in there when you move the temporal lobe aside. See that? It's the insula. Okay. Let's see here. Now, we have the sulci. We have a couple of important sulci, though, we want to mention. We have the lateral sulcus, which is right here between the temporal lobe and the frontal and parietals. See lateral sulcus right here. And then there is the central sulcus. And the central sulcus, let's see, not represented the greatest on this brain, but we can kind of trace it right here. Oh, I think it's actually, oh, okay. That's kind of weird. A little far forward on this, but there's this main sulcus here that runs along the side of the brain. It separates the frontal from parietal lobes. I think it's actually, should be here. As labeled wrong, it looks like. Anyway, separating the frontal from parietal lobes is the central sulcus. The central sulcus, kind of running right down the center of the brain here, is the central sulcus. Now, with the central sulcus, we have two important gyri on either side. At the back of the frontal lobe, before you hit that central sulcus, we have the precentral gyrus. Precentral gyrus is this gyrus just in front of the central sulcus. Then there's this main sulcus behind that central sulcus. This is the post-central gyrus. So the post-central gyrus is behind that main central sulcus. So you have the central sulcus, and then anterior to that will be the precentral gyrus. Posterior to that will be the post-central gyrus. Okay? Let's see here. Okay. Actually, I'm going to go real quick. I need to grab